this is all trash and we are all garbage people just trying to fight the last stage of late capitalism. Hello y'all, welcome back to my channel. You are watching Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes. I am Michelle Flores, where I talk about all things related to reading and writing. So today I am going to be doing my June Unhaul, July TBR. I do apologize if my voice sounds a little bit off today. I am feeling kind of sick. I'm not sure what I have, but this is just your friendly reminder. Even though places are reopening, it's not necessarily the best choice to be going out and doing things. So make sure if you do decide to go out, you are wearing your mask, you are washing your hands as soon as you get home, disinfect when you can. My dad recently had COVID. I have a few family members who now have COVID. I might possibly be carrying COVID. So it's something that is just unfortunately going to get worse before it gets better because we just don't want to follow directions. Looking at my own state, Florida, get it together. All right, so first up, let's do our unhaul. I automatically unhaul any books that I rated 2 stars or less. This book I rated 2 stars this past month, so I'm definitely going to be unhauling it. And as I shelve some of these newer books that I have, I might be unhauling a few other ones as well. So let's go ahead and see which ones I end up unhauling. All right, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and talk about some of the books that I'm going to be unhauling this month. I have quite a few this time. First up, we have Nothing Is Okay by Rachel Wiley. Rachel Wiley is a spoken word poet who is also a body positivity activist. And overall, I liked a few of the pieces in this book, but I just found that some of the poems were a bit too surface level for my liking. I could definitely resonate with the poems, especially the ones about body and being a fat person in the world. But at the same time, I felt like some of the conclusions that were drawn or some of the comparisons that were made just did not have that emotional resonance that I need in my poetry. And I also felt like stylistically, there wasn't too much playing with convention or pushing form and structure. So overall, it was a cute book. I think if you're someone who's starting out with poetry, this might be a good route to go, but it's just not for me, not my taste. Next up, we have Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I talked about this in a previous video. This is a book that I read when I was in college, couldn't really get into. I think it's because high fantasy is just not my genre. I kind of feel like I got that confirmation while reading The Mists of Avalon. Long descriptions of conversations and battle scenes is just not my thing, which unfortunately I feel like was a lot of this. So not for me, not my thing. Next up, we have The Crowns of Crosswald. So this book is a self-published YA/middle grade book that the author sent me on Instagram, and I read it. It was fine. I'm definitely too old for a book like this, and the story itself felt like it borrowed a lot from Harry Potter, and I'm not the only one who felt this way. I noticed in a lot of the comments and reviews that people left of this book, they've kind of felt the same thing. I also feel like this book was rushed. It didn't make a lot of sense, and I had trouble tracking who the characters were and the plot and things like that. So it's just not a book I really want to keep on my shelves anymore. Apparently it won an award, so that's cool, but just not for me. Next, we have Dead Aquarium by Caleb Michael Sarvis. So Caleb Michael Sarvis is a local author to my city, Jacksonville, Florida. He was one of the founders of my local city's press, Bridge 8 Press. Unfortunately, he also made some really problematic choices. He was in a situation where he was a high school teacher who had inappropriate relationships with students. I think everything was just online, but that doesn't excuse it. So I don't know. And this book itself also just felt like white dude in your MFA program. It was very much about trying to be clever. It's a collection of short stories like most MFAs tend to produce. kind of talked about it in my MFA video, which is linked above. But overall, I actually remember a situation where I saw this book on my already read shelf for my fiction books, was like, I didn't read that book, and then pulled it out and started reading it again, and then remember that I read it. So either my memory's fucked up or this dude just did not write particularly interesting or engaging stories. Either way, I don't really need to have this book on my shelf anymore because I've got plenty of other books that I really enjoy on there now. Lastly, I am unhauling The Mists of Avalon, as I talked about in the start of this video. 2 stars. I could not separate the author's actions from what was presented in this book, and I think moving forward, I probably will continue to read books by authors I know to be problematic, but I'm also going to do research on the groups that they are harming so I can figure out how I can better support and help those groups. So specifically for this book and for Dead Aquarium, I have linked information about RAIN, which is an organization that supports victims and survivors of rape, abuse, and incest. If you'd like to donate, support, just learn more about these particular topics, definitely check out the website below. Let that be your daily action, if you will. Okay, so here are some of the books that I'm planning on reading in the month of July. I try to stick to my TBR as much as possible, but I know last month there were 2 books that I just could not get to. So I'm gonna tack those books onto this list as well. Well, first up, I have a book that I'm reading for the Mermaid Readathon. By this point, I've probably already finished this book, but I'll do my wrap up for the Mermaid Readathon next week. This is The Mermaid's Voice Returns, and this one by Amanda Lovelace. So this is a book of poetry that centers, I think it's about like the Little Mermaid and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just figured book of poetry relating to mermaids, I'm all about it. So this might be a fun read to kind of cleanse my palate after The Mists of Avalon. Also for the Mermaid Readathon, we have Sea Spell by Jennifer Donnelly. This is the 4th and final book of the Waterfire Saga. I have talked about the Waterfire Saga before. I will link that video in the cards above. And I am excited to finish up this series, even though I have some issues with representation in the books. I do think it's a really fun series, and I am currently working on a YA novel, so this series is definitely helping me figure out how I might want to structure some things within my book. Next, we have this craft book, and this is a book that I will probably be reading all month. It is called Poetry, A Writer's Guide, and Anthology. I'd never heard of this craft book before, but then Elizabeth Velasquez on Instagram, if you don't follow her, make sure you follow her. I'm linking her info down below. Posted this, and it looked really intriguing to me. So as I write my YA novel, which is probably going to be a novel in verse, I'm going to use this book to kind of help guide me through it. I also have a full-length manuscript that I'm working on, which I will link above. But I think this book will help me narrow down that manuscript, work on my current YA novel. And as always, I'm kind of just always writing poems on the side. So this book will probably be really helpful for that. Next up, we have Crossing the Water. I talked about this in my June TBR. I did not get to this book this month. I just had a lot going on, but I hope I can get to it next month. This is gonna be partially research for my YA novel, and it talks all about Afro-Cuban religions within the country. So intrigued by this book, and I really need to get around to reading it at some point. Next, we have The Poet X. Now, because I am working on a novel in verse, I feel like Elizabeth Acevedo at this point is the master of that genre. I really need to make sure that I learn from her. So I'm going to be reading this book and just paying attention to the way that she structures the poems, because I think oftentimes with a novel in verse, we might think, okay, if I just take these lines and break them apart, even if it's still very prosy, as long as it's, you know, lines, then I've got a novel in verse. And that's actually not true. So The Poet X and Clap When You Land are really good examples of how a novel in verse is not just prose broken up in an interesting way. It's actual poems that tell a story. And that is something that I need to work on. Probably noticing a theme within the book that I might be working on. This is called Refugee by Alan Gratz, and it is about refugees from 3 different countries. We have a Jewish refugee during World War II, then we have a Cuban refugee during the Cuban boat lift or balseros of the 90s. And then we also have a Syrian refugee. As I actively try to work on my young adult novel, this will be a great book to actually help me flesh out some ideas that I have that I might not know exactly how to get those ideas across. Next, we have Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. This is a book that is purely like fun, escapist, gorgeousness. I love this cover. I learned about Zoraida through the Social Distance Book Fest or whatever it was called. I know that it was hosted by a YouTuber, and I'm gonna link the video down below. But I really loved what she had to say, and her books themselves just sounded super interesting. And I figured since this was coming out in a time that is probably the worst time to have a book come out, I wanted to support this author, and like, hello, holographic cover, I'm all about it. So this is definitely something that I'm excited to dive into at some point this month. All right, the last physical book that I'm going to be reading this month hopefully will be The Silent Patient. My cousin sent this to me, and it was so sweet of her. I sent her a copy of Becoming by Michelle Obama. She sent me this. She really enjoyed it. I've heard good things, so I think this will be another book that I'll use when I need to take a break or just need to escape into like a juicy thriller. That'll be fun. I also have 2 audiobooks that I plan on listening to this month. The first one is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I actually started this book in June, but I'm finishing it in July, so that's just going to be part of my July wrap up. And then I also plan on listening to a book called Influencer. As I work on this channel and as I adjust my Instagram to be more bookstagrammy, author kind of friendly, I really want to make sure that I'm branding myself in a way that is useful and doesn't feel completely inauthentic to me. But who knows? I could end up reading that book and realize this is all trash and we are all garbage people just trying to fight the last stage of late capitalism in our lives. Who knows? It'll be fun while we do it, I guess. All right, so on that note, I'm going to end my video here. It has gone on long enough. If you'd like to follow me on a more day-to-day basis, you can find me on Instagram, Tumblr, and Goodreads at Shelly Flowers. If you'd like to purchase a chapbook of poetry all about growing up in South Florida, you can find my chapbook, Cuentos from the Swamp, down below. Lastly, let me know what y'all are planning on reading this month. July, as far as I know, didn't have any readathons, so my TBR list is like real all over the place. But if you are planning on doing a readathon, or if you do have particular books you're planning on reading this month, let me know. I'd love to hear all about it. All right, that is it from me. Ciao, y'all.